Hello, and thank you for joining us today on this live. Today, we're going to talk about that time of year. And what time of year that is? It is year end. So, while many people are focusing on holiday celebrations and the New Year resolutions, small business owners like yourself need to focus on year end business planning. This includes reflecting and preparing for another COVID year end. These activities, preparing and planning, are keys to running a successful business. So, to share more on this topic with us today is fellow CARES Act advisor Cindy Largent. And if I didn't mention it when I came on, I'm Catherine Pena, also a CARES Act business advisor. Hey, Cindy, are you there?
Hi, Catherine. I am here.
Excellent. Hey, it's the year end. Can you tell me what small business owners need to start doing for this uh, year end and understanding what COVID implications there might be?
Right. Well, when COVID started, nobody had any idea of the length, the breadth, the depth of what that pandemic would do, especially on our small businesses. And, the Census Bureau this week released some more updated information on business starts. And business starts during the pandemic have skyrocketed way above what we normally see after some type of crisis or during some type of crisis. The last one, of course, was our recessionary period. And so we have a lot of small businesses out there, a lot of brand new small businesses out there. So year end is upon us. And so congratulations to all our small businesses for weathering, right, another COVID year and managing to deal with that. Now, with COVID, we still had programs that were in effect. We still have idle that goes through December 31st. So that's the economic injury disaster loan. That product is still available, and the employee retention credit, which of course is a credit on payroll, and that's done through the IRS. So those two programs go through the end of the year. So, but irregardless, programs or not programs, end of year is a critical time for our small businesses because one is you're reflecting on the year end. And while you're reflecting on that year end, you should also be looking at your financial statements. You should, throughout the year, you should be monitoring where you're at. But come that year end, it's going to give you a really good picture of what your entire year looked like. And so when I talk about financial statements, of course, we have the three key financial statements, and that's going to be your balance sheet. And your balance sheet shows you your assets and your
Mm.
liabilities. And all that says is what do you own and what do you owe? And your balance sheet, of course, always balances depending on how much you are investing in your owner's equity. So you have your balance sheet. The next is your income statement, profit and loss, P&L. Those are all terms that people use for your income statement. That income statement shows your revenue and it shows your expenses. And when you subtract your expenses from your revenue, that tells you whether or not you have a profit for the year or a loss for the year. And that's critical. It's critical because it's going to help you make financial decisions, but all of these documents are going to help you prepare for taxes, tax time. So this isn't a tax Facebook Live. We're not going to really address taxes on this one, but everything that we're going to talk about is going to help prepare for that. And then, of course, the third one, which is my most favorite of all financial statements. I know people are listening thinking, how can you have a favorite financial statement? But I do. And that is cash flow. And that's because cash flow shows the strength of your business. And cash flow is everything that's coming in that is related to your cash and everything that's going out. And if you are a client of mine, I'm making you do a weekly cash flow. So you have a cash flow statement, spreadsheet that you're working on for me so that we can stay up to date with how you're doing. But cash flow really is a good measure of the health and strength of your business. So those are the three financial statements. If you have not been preparing them throughout the year, now is a good time to start getting all of that information together so that you could prepare them. And so that is those are our three financial statements that are important. So you want to be preparing for that. And in order to produce those financial statements, that means your receipts and your bookkeeping has to be in order and organized. And so your accountant, your CPA, your tax preparer, they're going to love you because if you're already doing this, preparing for your year end, you're going to have it ready for next year when you're ready to do your taxes and it's all going to be in order. So it's a win win because now you have financial statements kind of letting you know where you're at, which is important. So we're preparing, then we're reflecting because now we can see how you've done through the year. And then, of course, the next thing we need to do is review that documentation and make sure that your documentation is solid. So you don't need that just for the IRS, you need to do it for yourself. And this way, I tell people, I don't care if you spent $1 at the dollar store because you bought something for your business, that still impacts your business. And you don't know how many of those dollars you have. So, your documentation, you want to be very thorough. You want to be very organized. So, documentation, reviewing documentation, also important. The other thing is, this is a great time for those small businesses that have employees to really sit and reflect and have discussions with their employees about how they all weathered the COVID storm. Their business, every business was impacted by COVID again, because, we've had all kinds of different issues, between the worker shortages. And so some of your workers have stayed loyal and true. And you've got some new ones that are hungry to learn and really contribute to business. We've had supply chain issues. There's been all kinds of things that affected our small businesses. So, those people, especially those that have stuck through you last year and then this year, it's really a good time to reflect upon their contributions to your company and communicate them, or it's a time to really evaluate what you really need in your company and what you need your employees to do. So that is very, very important. But I am a huge fan and proponent of always having really good communication with your employees. So that is the next thing that I would say um, businesses should be doing as we're getting ready to close out the year and preparing for the year end. Now, the other thing besides cash flow, for me, that's huge that I want all my clients to have, irregardless if they are a sole proprietor, no employees, or if they have 100 employees, is a business plan. So at this point in time, right, you've got to review your business plan because your business plan is really your guidebook. It's a tool. It's a tool for the business owner to really make sure they understand their business. And so after going through another year where we really started seeing business picking up and that recovery taking place, this is really a good time to go back, review your business plan, see where you thought you were going to be at this point in time, make those adjustments and revisions as we're getting ready for 2022. So the end of 2021 means we're ushering in a 2022. And so you want to start 22 strong, and the way to do that is doing a good job preparing for 2021, reflecting, getting everything in order. So when 2022 starts, you're ready to go. And so when you're reviewing that documentation, that's also knowing where all your documents are going to be, your files. If you don't have enough room in your file cabinet or wherever you keep your files or electronically, make sure that you have a system in place where you know where those files are going to be. Next week, on the 8th at 10 o'clock, we're going to do a Facebook Live and we're going to talk a little bit more about the CARES Act program, the requirements that you're going to need for reporting in that auditing time period. And so, one thing I will mention that is very important to know as you're preparing your documents for year end and you're looking at your financials is making sure you understand those CARES Act programs and what documentation you do need. So we have PPP. Even though you can't get a PPP, we still have people who are in that time frame to request forgiveness. And so you need to make sure that you're doing that. Look at your accounts receivable, those small businesses that, extend terms and don't get cash right away. Make sure that all your accounts receivable, as much as collected as possible. And on the AP side, your vendors, make sure that you have everybody paid up because, especially if they're small businesses, we really need to make sure we're supporting each other. But you want to make sure that your accounts receivable, those that owe you, and accounts payable, those that you owe, that all of those are caught up to date, end your year clean, and that way you're starting 2022 nice and fresh. And so those are just some of the basics. That's not everything. I could go into detail and we could be here for a couple hours, but I'm sure nobody wants to be on a Facebook Live and go through all of the drudgery of everything we need to do. But that's what we're here for. We're here to really help businesses look at their business, help them formulate checklists of what they need to do to really close out their year strong and be ready to start 2022 nice, fresh, ready to go.
And just for everybody to know, we are business advisors. We are not tax preparers or tax professionals. So we do encourage you to build those relationships with your CPAs or other tax preparers because this year end will also need some interpretation. So if you're unable to read your cash flow or determine your goals, you want to work with us here at the SBDC or your tax preparer so you can be in a good spot for next year. Before I let you go, Cindy, I wanted to ask about this real quick, which would be the employee retention credit, which also ends in December 31st. How does this help small businesses and or their employees?
So the employee retention credit is available to those that do have employees. And there are some criteria you have to meet in order to be eligible for it. And so because we're already into the fourth quarter, once you pay, you know, every quarter you're filing what they call a 941, and that is paying into the IRS and reconciling what payroll taxes needed to be paid. So you're going to modify that based upon the calculations that are available. And there's multi tiers of eligibility. So that's really important that everybody speak to somebody who understands the employee retention credit to help them. But then it is a refund in a sense. They are getting money back that they've already paid on payroll taxes. And so they're going to get that up to $10,000 per employee. So it is a great credit. It's a little bit more difficult to understand. We've done some webinars, Facebook Lives, but with that particular credit and our small businesses that are using payroll processors, your payroll processors are familiar with that already. They do charge a fee, of course, because you can go back retroactively and request that employee retention credit
Mm.
for previous quarters. And so, if you do have employees, it's something that we encourage everybody to take a look at to see if they do meet those eligibility requirements. And we can help with some of that. But as you said, Catherine, we are not tax professionals. That's really not what we're here. That's not really under the umbrella of what the SBDC, the services that we provide. But if you don't have somebody, we would also be happy to provide references to professionals that can help in detail. But the employee retention credit is great because we have some small businesses. I have some clients that really benefited from that program. um, but it is a little bit intricate. There's some rules, and like I said, it's multi-tier in the eligibility and the qualification and what's covered and what's not covered. So it's important to really understand that program. But if you have
Right.
employees, most definitely take a look.
Perfect. Well, I appreciate the snapshot to help our small businesses that are watching today because these are programs that end. And something that you also mentioned is it can be intricate. So we do encourage you if you're watching at any time to give us a call here at 817-515-2600 and get on our calendar to speak with a business advisor so we can help you navigate that or give you resources to navigate and be able to utilize those funds because they do end and this program ends December 31st. Cindy, thank you for telling us the importance of being prepared for our taxes and what we need to do because COVID again impacted our small business owners, especially those that did receive PPP or idle funds or the employee retention credit. So we do want you as a small business owner to be prepared, because being prepared will help you be flexible should there be another pandemic. So, hey, thank you, Cindy, for your time today.
Thanks for having me, Catherine.
You're welcome. Bye bye.
Bye.
And by the way, don't forget, we will have this program ending. This is the COVID Economic Disaster Loan. If you've not applied for that, you can still do that. But this program does end December 31st. So please call us at 817 515 2600 so that we can get you on our calendar. Also, you're welcome to go to our website at www.tarrantsbdc.org. And then finally, next week at 10 a.m., give or take a couple of minutes, we will be back live talking about the CARES Act programs and wrap up and all of the things that you may still have questions on. And if there's something important about those programs that you like for us to touch on, please put them in the comments below. We are here to help you navigate this. Otherwise, we do appreciate you joining us today. We hope that you follow us on Facebook, LinkedIn, Twitter, and Instagram. Our handle at each one of these is at Tarrant SBDC. Thank you for joining us. We look forward to answering your comments and concerns and being here to support you on your small business journey.